Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. Five-time Pro Bowler Terron Armstead shocked the NFL world earlier this year when he announced his sudden retirement from professional football. At first glance, the decision didn't quite make sense to fans or analysts. After all, the veteran left tackle had just completed a strong season, appearing in 15 games for the Miami Dolphins and continuing to perform at a Pro Bowl level. He looked as durable and dominant as ever on the field, especially considering his history of injuries. Yet, as Armstead himself recently revealed, the real story behind his decision was far more painful, both literally and emotionally, than anyone outside the locker room could have imagined. Appearing on Shannon Sharpe and Chad Johnson's Nightcap podcast, the former Saints and Dolphins star opened up about the brutal toll football had taken on his body and why he finally decided to walk away from the game he loved after 12 punishing seasons in the trenches. When Chad Ochocinco Johnson pressed Armstead on what exactly made him say enough is enough, the big man didn't hold back. In raw, vivid detail, he explained how each week had become a personal battle for survival, not just competition. "I didn't see a practice field at all," Armstead confessed, painting a picture that would leave even the toughest linemen shaking their heads. "And not because I didn't want to, or the Dolphins just wanted me to rest. I literally couldn't walk." After Sunday games, he was reduced to near immobility until midweek, unable to support his own weight without serious pain and powerful medication. The notion of grinding through another season like that was no longer just daunting, it was terrifying. It wasn't about age, ability, or passion. It was about basic functionality, quality of life, and preserving what was left of a body that had been pushed to its absolute limits. And here's where the contrast becomes so jarring. In 2024, Armstead played 15 games, tying a personal best, and continued to lock down some of the league's fiercest pass rushers with the same fluid, footwork, and technical mastery that had made him one of the game's elite tackles. Fans saw a warrior on Sundays. What they didn't see was the man behind the mask, struggling just to climb stairs on Monday, leaning on teammates and trainers to simply stand upright on Tuesday. It's easy to forget that what we watch in those tightly edited highlight reels is the tip of an iceberg. Underneath it all, Armstead's knees were crumbling, his ligaments begging for mercy, and his nerves fraying with every step. No amount of accolades or applause could outweigh the creeping reality that each game might be his last, because his body might finally give out completely. Terron Armstead wasn't just another aging player hanging on past his prime. He was still playing at an elite level, which is what makes his story both compelling and sobering. He made 5 Pro Bowls in his last 7 seasons, including back-to-back honors in 2022 and 2023. On paper, he was peaking. On Sundays, he was punishing defenders with explosive agility and veteran savvy. But it came at a price no stat sheet could ever capture. The painkillers, the injections, the quiet moments where he questioned whether he'd be able to get out of bed the next morning, all of that stayed hidden. The NFL, for all its glory, remains one of the most physically demanding professions on earth. And Armstead's decision laid that truth bare for everyone willing to look past the glamour of game day. Injuries had always been a part of Armstead's story. Now, he joked in the podcast that he might be the most injured guy in NFL history, and there's more than a grain of truth in that. From his early days in New Orleans to his final snaps in Miami, his toughness was never in question, but his health was a constant concern. Yet through it all, he kept showing up, kept suiting up, and kept performing at a level most linemen can only dream of. For years, he made the impossible look routine, managing to outplay his broken body and silence critics with sheer willpower. But there comes a time, even for the fiercest warriors, when the body simply refuses to cooperate. For Terron Armstead, that time arrived not with a dramatic injury on the field, but with the quiet realization that he could no longer walk without pain, let alone run block against 300-pound defensive tackles. The pain wasn't just physical. Walking away from the NFL after more than a decade is a mental and emotional mountain in itself. For someone who had dedicated his entire adult life to mastering the art of offensive line play, the game had become more than just a job. It was an identity, a purpose, a brotherhood. Retirement meant letting go of that identity and stepping into the unknown. It meant no longer being in the locker room with teammates, no longer feeling the adrenaline rush of Sunday battles, and no longer having that weekly mission to prepare for. That emotional weight, coupled with the physical toll, made the decision to retire all the more courageous. He wasn't quitting. He was preserving what was left of himself for the people and passions that awaited him beyond football. The nightcap episode brought a human side to a player fans had long admired but perhaps never truly understood. Listening to Armstead speak so openly about his struggles was both heartbreaking and eye-opening. We often idolize athletes as superhuman, as though their physical gifts somehow exempt them from pain or sacrifice. But Armstead shattered that illusion with every word. He showed us what it costs to be great, to stay great, and to keep playing even when your body is screaming for rest. In an age where fans often clamor for more from their favorite players, more games, more toughness, more loyalty, his story serves as a reminder of what's already being given behind the scenes, everything. And sometimes, even that isn't enough to outrun the grind. Terron Armstead's legacy will live on in both New Orleans and Miami. With the Saints, he protected Drew Brees' blindside for years and helped anchor some of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. With the Dolphins, he became a mentor and stabilizer for a young offensive line, all while continuing to dominate despite his mounting physical challenges. He was never the loudest player in the room, but his impact was undeniable. Teammates respected him, coaches trusted him, and opponents dreaded lining up across from him. That combination of talent, resilience, and humility made him one of the most respected linemen of his era. His retirement may have come sooner than fans expected, but in truth, it came right on time for the man behind the pads who finally chose peace over punishment. Now, as he steps into the next chapter of his life, Terron Armstead leaves the game with his head held high and his body hopefully on a path toward healing. His story is a powerful one, not just because of how he played, but because of what he endured to keep playing. It's a tale that deserves to be told, retold, and remembered whenever we talk about toughness in sports. Not the kind of toughness that shows up in stat sheets or highlight reels, but the kind that takes place in cold recovery rooms, under ice packs, and behind closed doors. The NFL is a league of gladiators, and Armstead was one of the most valiant among them. His exit is a moment of reflection, not just for fans, but for the league itself, about how we value players, how we manage injuries, and what we expect from those who give us so much for our entertainment. And maybe that's the most important takeaway from all of this. Terron Armstead didn't walk away from the NFL because he stopped loving the game. He walked away because he finally started loving himself a little more. Because after years of sacrificing his body for wins, for fans, for the dream he chased, since childhood, he realized that the greatest victory might just be stepping away on his own terms. That kind of decision requires more bravery than any block he ever made. And while we won't see him suiting up on Sundays anymore, we should celebrate the legacy he leaves behind, not just as a Pro Bowl tackle, but as a man who made the hardest choice for all the right reasons. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments, what's your take on the Fins this week? In a twist that could send shockwaves through the AFC East, cornerback Rasul was reportedly seen arriving at the Miami Dolphins headquarters earlier today, sparking intense speculation about a potential blockbuster signing. While nothing has been officially confirmed by the team or the player, multiple eyewitnesses claim they saw Douglas entering the facility, escorted by what appeared to be team representatives. This comes just days after whispers began circulating about Miami's aggressive pursuit of defensive reinforcements. With training camps on the horizon, this potential move is already dominating headlines as fans and analysts alike try to piece together the puzzle. Could the Dolphins be making one of the smartest defensive acquisitions of the offseason? Or is this just another smokescreen in the high-stakes world of NFL negotiations? Either way, if true, This could redefine Miami's secondary and elevate them into serious playoff contention. Rasul Douglas, currently 29, has been one of the league's most consistent and underrated cornerbacks over the last few seasons. Most recently with the Buffalo Bills. Douglas delivered a stellar performance late last year, showcasing his ability to make big plays under pressure. With his long frame, sharp instincts, and proven ball hawking skills, he's exactly the kind of veteran presence Miami has lacked in their secondary. Fans remember the struggles the Dolphins had last season when injuries hit the backfield hard, exposing a lack of depth. Douglas could be the insurance and the star Miami needs to shore up that part of the field. Of course, it's important to emphasize that nothing is finalized yet. This is all unfolding in real time, and we've seen situations like this change in a heartbeat. But the fact that Douglas is physically in the building, that's usually the strongest sign yet that pen is about to meet paper. Now, let's talk numbers. Word on the street is that the deal could be a 4-year contract, possibly structured in a way that's friendly to Miami's cap situation. Insiders are speculating that the Dolphins are prepared to offer a significant signing bonus and front-load part of the contract to ensure long-term flexibility. That kind of financial planning signals one thing: commitment. If the Dolphins are truly ready to tie themselves to Douglas for the next 4 seasons, that shows a belief not only in his talent, but in his leadership and fit with the team's defensive philosophy. For Douglas, it's a chance to secure stability and step into a market that's hungry for football success. The Dolphins are a team on the rise with an explosive offense and a defense that's just a few pieces away from being elite. Could Rasul be the missing link? But let's not forget the timing here. With mandatory minicamps set to begin in just a few days, the urgency behind this move seems very real. Teams don't typically invite players to their facility unless negotiations are at an advanced stage, so why the silence? That's the million-dollar question. Perhaps both sides are ironing out the final details, or maybe they're waiting to pair the announcement with another big reveal. Social media sleuths have already begun dissecting the Instagram stories of Dolphins players searching for clues, or cryptic emojis that might hint at the move. It's classic off-season drama, and Dolphins Nation is loving every second of it. While it's easy to get caught up in the hype, those who followed Rasul's career know he doesn't play games. If he's in Miami, he's there for business. This also raises big questions about the rest of Miami's cornerback room. With names like Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard already on the roster, adding Rasul Douglas could either signal a shift in scheme or a possible move involving another big-name corner. Could this be the end of the road for Howard in Miami? Or are the Dolphins planning to run a 3-headed monster at corner, locking down every angle of the field? It's a chess move that would make any opposing offensive coordinator lose sleep. But it also brings up questions of chemistry and ego. Will there be enough snaps and enough spotlight to go around? That's something only head coach Mike McDaniel and the defensive staff can answer. If the plan is in place, they better have thought this one through carefully. It's also interesting to think about what this move says about Miami's overall strategy. While the team has been largely focused on offensive firepower, particularly with Tua Tagovailoa under center and weapons like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle lighting up scoreboards, this could mark a shift in philosophy. Defense wins, championships. That old saying might be ringing in the ears of the Dolphins front office right now. Rasul Douglas isn't just a solid player. He's the kind of tone setter who brings physicality, swagger, and accountability. Those intangibles matter, especially in a locker room that's been building a culture of discipline and resilience. If Miami is really bringing in Rasul, they're doing more than filling a roster spot. They're making a statement. Of course, not everyone is convinced this deal is going through. Some skeptics are pointing to Miami's cap space, which, while manageable, would still require some maneuvering to make a 4-year deal work. Others are wondering if this is just leverage. Perhaps Rasul's camp using Miami's interest to push Buffalo or another team into upping their offer. We've seen this playbook before, especially with veteran free agents. The dance of negotiation can be messy, and until a contract is signed and a jersey is held up, nothing is guaranteed. That said, the optics of today's visit are too strong to ignore. When a player is brought into the team facility, especially during a quiet part of the offseason, it usually means something significant is brewing. From the player's perspective, this move makes a lot of sense. Douglas has spent time bouncing around the league, from the Eagles to the Panthers, Packers, and most recently the Bills. While he's earned respect everywhere he's gone, he's never really had a long-term home. Miami could offer that. Stability, along with a chance to compete at the highest level. The Dolphins have the pieces in place for a deep playoff run, and Douglas could be a huge part of that puzzle. His ability to play both man and zone, plus his knack for timely interceptions, would give Miami's defense a serious edge. And let's not ignore the weather. After years of cold weather cities, the idea of playing in sunny South Florida probably doesn't hurt. As the day unfolds, all eyes will remain fixed on Miami. Fans are refreshing their feeds, insiders are chasing leads, and analysts are already imagining what this defense might look like with Rasul Douglas patrolling one side of the field. Could we be hours away from one of the offseason's most underrated signings becoming official? Or will this end up as just another tantalizing what if in the wild world of NFL rumors? One thing is for sure, when you mix a talented veteran, a hungry contender, and the high drama of free agency, you get a story that refuses to stay quiet. So stay tuned, because if this rumor turns into reality, the ripple effects could be felt all season long. Until then, Dolphins fans can dream. They can imagine Rasul Douglas lining up opposite Jalen Ramsey, shutting down elite receivers, forcing turnovers, and bringing that no-nonsense energy every defense needs. They can picture the pick sixes, the third down stops, the swagger returning to Hard Rock Stadium. Whether it happens or not, this moment is a perfect reminder of why we love the NFL offseason. It's not just about the games, it's about the possibilities, the what-ifs, the glimpses into a future that's just one signature away. And if Rasul Douglas does sign that 4-year deal in Miami, we'll all look back on today as the moment it all began. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.